216, a link to the Past Randomizer podcast. I am your host, fearagent. With me today, I've got GanonsGoneWild. This might be one of my all-time favorite episodes, partially because it's someone that I feel like people might be hesitant to listen to. I like the fact that that's today's guest. I really had a blast talking with GGW, and we'll get to it a little bit. I really don't have much rando stuff to talk about. I know the main tournament's going on. We're kind of in the end game. I think we're into the top 8. I know that the 80 keys is close to finishing up the Swiss rounds, I think. There might be a couple more weeks of that. I don't think there's been a decision made on the Specky Swamp Skip yet. So nothing there. Cross keys is about to start up. So yeah, for me, there's not a lot going on. I'm doing a random comm here or there. I think I'll talk about Tears of the Kingdom on this episode. Not gonna spoil anything. So if you haven't played Tears of the Kingdom, don't worry about spoilers. I will put time codes in this episode. I don't really ever do that, but if you want to skip past any of my Tears of the Kingdom thoughts, understandable. Either you don't like the game, or you don't care what I think, or you don't want to be spoiled accidentally, or even have anything spoiled. Yeah, skip right past it and get to the interview. Tears of the Kingdom. So I was a huge Breath of the Wild fan. I don't play a lot of video games outside of the Mario series and the Zelda series. I don't have a lot of experience with open world games, Skyrim, stuff like Red Dead Redemption. Don't have a lot of experience with that. Honestly, like the last open world game that I played was probably like Grand Theft Auto Vice City, which is like 20 something years old. So, you know, it was my first dip into the open world adventure game, and it blew me away. I was a big Zelda fan growing up, and it did a bunch of cool new things, and I really love the openness, the exploration, the expansion. And while there was things that I, didn't love, obviously like the weapon system wasn't great, and some of the shrines got repetitive, and at times the world felt a little too empty. None of that bothered me. I love that game. I still do. But I was super hyped for Tears of the Kingdom to come out, and it didn't disappoint. It is massive. It's just so massive, and fixed a lot of the problems that Breath of the Wild had. The weapon system is so much better now. It's not perfect, but it's more enjoyable. It also made it so that you didn't just avoid all the enemies. I feel like in Breath of the Wild, you'd always want to save your best weapons and not fight anyone so that you didn't break anything. And this is the exact opposite, where you get stuff from killing enemies now to fuse to your weapons. That's awesome. So it fixed a lot of that. I didn't love the Divine Beasts. I think the thing that I liked the least about the Divine Beasts were the Blight Ganons. So they majorly upgraded all of that stuff. The temples are fun. They're an improvement. They're not quite as good as the Ocarina of Time, Twilight Princess, some of the other like Wind Waker temples and stuff, but they're better. So that was a big improvement. The bosses in the temples being just different monsters was awesome. That felt a little bit closer to what I want out of a Zelda game. So that was fun. I enjoyed the main story. I thought that was really enjoyable. The new mechanics are awesome and just expansive, and the things that you can do with them, especially watching some of the meme stuff online, has been a lot of fun. I've been watching the speedruns, and that's been cool, watching the speedrunners break the game in half. And the game is just massive. It's really cool. I enjoyed everything about it. Any of my problems would be nitpicks, really, but nothing that would make me not love the game or not enjoy the game. I've just had so much fun, and I've been playing it so much the last month. So I got my $70 out of it for sure, and I'm still playing. I haven't completed all the side quests, and of course, I haven't found all the Koroks. But I'm having fun just walking around the world, wherever it is, land or sky or depths. It's so much fun. I'm really enjoying it. The game is gangbusters as far as sales go. I think it was like 10 million in the first 3 days. I think I saw an announcement somewhere or some conversation about this is the path forward for Zelda. I have a couple of different thoughts. I'll mention them quickly. What I'd like to see in the next installment is a little bit less open worldness. Like I think I miss a little bit of item unlocks more stuff. It just feels a little bit more Zelda. I would not mind if the shrines went away and they just incorporated all of the shrines into like 8 or 9 big dungeons. I think that would be awesome. Story-wise, the Zelda story's always played it safe. And it'd be nice for them to like take a little bit more chances. Like it feels like having consequences would be nice. Having fallout from actions would be nice, and not just have everything kind of reset back to zero. But that's like a whole series problem, and more of Nintendo wanting to play it safe. I like the controls. I like the world. I like how they've expanded it and changed it, so it's not just a carbon copy of Breath of the Wild. But yeah, I don't know, just little things. Maybe bring the Triforce back in, just story-wise. I think the Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom missing the Triforce, hunt for Triforce, or any of the Triforce stuff, I feel like would be a good addition to whatever comes next. Expand the dungeons. I think expanding the dungeons would be the biggest thing, is make them just bigger and more expansive, add keys, just add the stuff that makes them feel a little bit more like dungeons. I feel like that would be like the one big thing I'd want them to do. I'd also like them to get rid of the go straight to the boss. I think I kind of miss that as well. Mostly because I'd like to see what the speedrunners do with that kind of stuff. All I know is I really, really enjoyed Tears of the Kingdom. It was awesome, and really, really happy with it, and have no real complaints. Just enjoyed it a lot. All right, well, let's get to today's guest, GanonsGoneWild, aka GGW, on the show today. I had a lot of fun talking with him. You know, GGW is a person that is really good at the game. He's worked really hard to get good the last few years. And we talk about that. We talk about, him kind of sharing his opinions on things in probably not the best way. And we get his perspective. Whether or not you agree with it, just kind of remembering that we're all people, right? And we're all not going to approach things the same way. And, we're not going to like everyone in the community. That's just the way it goes. I remember a time when the community at large was a bit more unified because we were all racing big races like all the time. And things sort of splintered off, and that's natural. And so there's pockets of communities. And so we're going to find the people that we gravitate towards. And GGW is one of those people that I've gravitated towards. I really like hanging out with GGW. I like the honesty, and he's just a fun guy to talk to. And if anything, I hope you get enjoyment out of our conversation, because we had a good time. We recorded this a couple of weeks back. It was right after a race that he had just won. We talk about the specifics of that race. I think it's pretty clear the way we break it down, but it doesn't last too long, and we get to his history and stuff. So yeah, really fun and good conversation with GGW. So let's get to it. Here's GGW. All right, dude. Thanks for coming on the show, man. I've really been looking forward to this one for a long time. I think a lot of people are actually looking forward to this one for a long time. So yeah, thanks for doing it.
Yeah, no, it's fun. Nothing controversial. We said everybody's going to go home happy, and it's always a good ending.
Yeah. I mean, let's just put it on Front Street, right? Like, you are one of the better runners in the league, or not just the league, in Rando in general. Like, we could say that. But you're a controversial figure, I would say, in the space, because you don't shy away from letting people know what you think.
Yeah. I guess that's a good way to put it. I don't know. It's like, if I think something is just generally true and you have a problem with that, it's like, that's your problem, not mine.
Here's the thing, is you just don't give a fuck, right? Like, that's what it comes down to, is like, or do you do care, right?
Like, I don't want people to dislike me, but like, if something in the league or whatever in the community is negatively impacting me, then I'm going to bring it up, even if some people get mad.
Sure.
I think that there's just generally, like, a lot of people are really just like, they don't deal well with like negativity or criticism or whatever. Everything's got to be positive all the time, and it's always sunshine and rainbows, and that's just not real life. Sometimes you have problems, and you need to acknowledge that you have problems, and you need to find solutions. And that's not being negative. It's just, it's just a process of self-improvement. So I don't know.
Sure. I'm gonna push back a little bit, though, because here's the thing: is you and I are friendly, right? Like, we're friends. Yeah. I would say we're friends. We chat. We have our own Discord where we chat about bullshit behind the scenes that doesn't get put up public, mostly just to shit talk Gammon and stuff. But I would say we're friends, and I don't necessarily agree with the way you always say stuff. It's almost like, I think I've said this to you, it's like you catch more bees with, what's the saying, with honey, whatever, something like that. Where it's like, I agree with almost everything, all of your opinions. It almost feels like you don't care how it how you say it. I feel like there's no like sugarcoating with you, right?
That's definitely true. Like I probably should try to sugarcoat things, but I just a lot of times don't understand why. It's like
Sure.
it's just the truth, man. Like I'm sorry. And like, like you're saying, like we do have a little Discord with a bunch of friends in the community, and a lot of times I'm just saying what other people have already said in private, but I'm willing to say it in public.
Yeah, that's the difference. Is there's people that are never going to say it in public. You'll say it because you think it. And I guess we can cover some of that stuff when we get to it. And that's not all of who you are, right? Like you are a really good rando runner. You league champion. He just came off of the ladder Kaz Boots tournament where you won that as well. Like you're on fire right now.
Yeah.
So there's more to you than just being a controversial figure, but I think a lot of that kind of can overshadow that.
Yeah.
You're a Papega router of all.
Excuse me. Okay.
I mean, today's race, we're recording this on the day your first top 32 race against Hayfield Bay. Was that right? Yeah. And
we could talk about at some point like that race and maybe how I play. I don't know if or when you want to get into that.
Let's just start right now. Let's just talk a little bit about that race right now.
Yeah.
I saw that you went to the left side swamp and you forgot to hit the switch, right? Like
yes, I did do that.
That left side swamp without the hook shot. You went to swamp. I think it was required, right? You had to go get the fire rod off the left side swamp without the hook shot.
I believe so. I wasn't paying close enough attention to the key logic, but in TR, but yeah, most likely that was the case.
I think so because
it was on the Trinex or whatever. Well, actually.
Hook shot was on Trinex.
Well, it wasn't actually Trinex because it was Boss Shuffle, so I don't know.
Sure, the actual Trinex boss, though. I don't think the logic changes. I don't know how the logic changes for Boss Shuffle, if at all. I don't know.
But anyway,
so you're one item from Go mode, right? Like you're looking for the hook shot. It's MC Boss Shuffle, right? That's the mode you're playing. One of your favorite modes.
Yep.
Favorite modes. And you go into TR and you skip Lava Chest, Big Chest, and Mimic Cave. You do Laser Bridge and then get the hook shot off of the boss of TR.
Yeah. So basically, like, first of all, like Hayfield Bay is a pretty good player. Like, I can't go into this race thinking like I'm just gonna full clear the game and win, even if I make like really dumb mistakes.
Sure.
So like I definitely respect him as an opponent. And so in this race, I got the mitts early by mimic clipping, and I didn't think he mimic clipped. He says he does, but he didn't in this race, so maybe he's just not super confident in it.
Mm-hmm.
And so I just was pretty sure because the mitts were bow locked and it was a pendant dungeon, and like when the hell are you ever going back there? Because the other glove was in the back, so you're just never going back there. So I'm like very sure he's just gonna like last locate that, and I think he basically did last locating that. So the whole most of the race I feel like pretty good, pretty comfortable. Like as long as I don't skip anything, like I'm probably gonna win just because of these like stupid mid location. And then finally it starts getting to that point where like I don't have a lot left and I still need the fire rod and the hook shot. And so I go like I have like Dark Death Mountain, like couple checks up there, like Helmasaur King I skipped early, and like Desert Boss, which I don't even know if I can beat. So like I have like pretty bad checks. And so ultimately I decided to go to Swamp because at that point, assuming that he's really late to the mitts, I actually thought there's a decent chance he would do Swamp before going back to Pod. So,
which he did, I believe, right? He ended up getting the fire rod before you did, and you got the mitts before he did.
Yeah. I think when I rewatched it, he did like he had like the fire rod before he even had like a glove or something. I don't know. He went like super early. So I'm not going to really lose time even if Swamp's empty in that case. If we both do Hookless Swamp, then it's like basically a wash. But if I do Hookless Swamp and I forget to hit the switch and I lose an extra 2 minutes, it's like, how do I make up that time? Because the problem in this situation is I've already done almost everything else and it's not there. So like assuming he does most of the same checks, like especially if he also skips Smith Chain, it's like, how do I win? Which he also did skip Smith Chain because the mitts were in a crap location. So it's like, in my mind, it's like, I just have to find something. So like, that's why I make that skip. And I actually went back after the race and timed the difference. And I think I would have lost by 4 seconds if I didn't make that skip.
Wow.
So it's like, I mean, obviously I don't know exactly where he's at or what's going on, but just metagaming based on where the mitts are, I'm just trying to play in a way that like like
min-max, right? Like you're trying to take the most checks, like Laser Bridge gives you 4 really quick checks, as opposed to the 3 checks you skipped, which would take forever.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of other checks in the game still. Actually, at that point, there's like over 20 checks outside, or like at the point at which I skipped those checks, there's still like over 20 other checks elsewhere in the game. Like there's still Pedestal, there's still Desert, there's still Helmasaur King, like there's still Skull Woods, and like a few other checks that are bad. There's like, I think there was still the back of Escape, which both of us just, I guess, forgot about. I don't know. So there's still actually a lot of checks outside of TR,
Sure.
like even in Hookshot Cave and Super Bunny Cave. So like, it's actually pretty low probability that it's in one of those checks. And then there's also a pretty high chance one of the checks is just a small key. So it's like, I don't know, like in my mind, my odds of getting burned are pretty low. And I think one of the secrets, which shouldn't be a secret, is like when you're one item for go mode in this game, you can play pretty aggressive and not get burned. Especially if you have like 15, 20 checks available. So, I just felt like that was a good opportunity to skip something that he would probably end up doing given how things were playing out. And so that's just an opportunity for me to make up for the time loss in Swamp. And like, obviously it's a risk, but it's like, from my perspective, when you screw up really hard like that and you're already feeling like things aren't going super great, like a lot of these races against good players are really close. Like probably over half the races are going to be within 2 or 3 minutes.
Yep.
So like, like you actually get a lot of bang for your buck if you make these types of plays. And I think people are just generally too risk averse in this game. That doesn't mean...
I think you're right, yeah.
Yeah. It doesn't mean it's always the best idea to just play like a clown. Like if you only have 3 checks left in the game, like if the only thing I had left was TR, like literally that's it, then yeah, you can't, can't make that play because you're just going to get burned too often. At that point, you better just hope that he had like a disaster or something, like he died to a boss. But anyway, like...
No, I get it. We're all watching in chat and it's like, let me make this clear. No one's accusing you of cheating. I don't think you're cheating. I think people are just tired of your luckiness, you son of a bitch. I think it's not even really, and to be honest, people use the word luck, but it's not really luck. It's playing the odds, right? Like that's what I think people have missed out a lot in playing Rando is they want to be thorough because they don't want to get burned. And because the one time they don't, it burns them. And so it sort of creates this sort of like paradox of I can't skip because I'm going to get burned every time. When the truth is, if you do it more often than not, it's not always going to, it's not going to burn you. It's just a small sample size.
Yeah. I mean, the idea that I don't get burned, it's like, how do you think I lost to Tyler Salt in groups by 10 minutes? Like, it was a similar situation where like I made some really dumb mistake early and I basically just lost 2 minutes I just straight up lost 2 minutes at the beginning of the game. So I'm like, we're just going to skip left side. I don't care. And it was the wrong decision. And so I just got destroyed. So like I do get burned. It's just, I don't get burned often enough to where it's not worth it in the long run.
Sure.
And, I've gotten destroyed in so many tournaments. And so like you're saying, like it's hard for people to lose these types of races, to skip. And you're like, man, if I just did that check, I would have won. But for me, there was a stretch where I lost so many races when I was like either on Ganon or on Aga 2. And I'm just like, dude, if I was just a little bit faster, just a little bit better execution, just a little bit, cut a few corners, like I would have won this race. Like, so like, I don't know. For some people, maybe they get frustrated when they lose by 10 minutes because of a skip. But for me, it's like, I don't know, when you're so close to winning and then it's just like, man, if I just did one less check, I would win. It's like, how many times in a row you have to have that happen to you? Or you just like, for me, it's like, at some point I'm just going to try to metagame, be reasonable, like execute the best I can. And if I feel behind, it's like, I'm going to take some risk, especially if I'm like one item per go and have tons of stuff to do.
Sure. For sure. Yeah. I think more than anything, I'm just salty about you beating Gamachu twice in the league last year. Like, especially with those seeds that you guys got, those were pretty bananas.
I mean, those seeds were not very they're just needle in the haystack seeds that anybody could win, So that's just how it goes sometimes.
It was just funny that both of the seeds required Bumper Ledge, right? Like that was just bananas. Like Go Mode Bumper Ledge or whatever. That was just bananas.
Both Bumper Ledge and both had Pendant TR and Pendant Mire. So there was like
so ridiculous. Like what are the odds?
Yeah, it was pretty crazy.
But, all right, let's enough rando for now. Let's kind of find out who you are a little bit more away from the game. Did you grow up playing a lot of video games? Was Link to the Past in your library as a kid?
Not really. Like my uncle had it, and I like very briefly played it, but like not really. Like my family had like a old original Nintendo. We had like Zelda 1, Final Fantasy 1, and like some other games like Super Mario and stuff. Like my brother is like 9 years older than me, so he was like into gaming, like not as into gaming as I am, but he was like moderately into gaming. And so my family had like that system, and then eventually like a Sega Genesis, and we also had like a PC, like a Windows 3.1 or whatever. So we had like Wolfenstein 3D and like Doom and stuff. So way back, and those are like the first games I really started playing back in the day. But yeah, I mean, as time went on, like, you know, I played more PC games. I didn't really play any the old, like I think the Zelda that I played the most was the one on the Game Boy, like was it Link's Awakening or something?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I mean, but like when I'm like 6 years old, like I didn't have like a strategy guide. Like I could never get anywhere in that game.
Yeah. I mean, like there's so much stuff to figure out in that game too. It's way more puzzly than even like Link to the Past.
Yeah. So
as a 6-year-old, it's freaking hard, man.
Yeah, I never beat that game. I couldn't figure it out. I was just too young, no help. But
so you had a mixture of console games and PC games growing up. Was there a lot of gaming going on, or did you have other interests as well?
I mean, I played hockey, and my parents forced me to play the piano for many years. But I definitely I played like some other sports too, like baseball and whatnot. But hockey was the one that I stuck with until high school or end of high school. But yeah, I mean, gaming was definitely the main thing though that I had going on.
Was it? You said you had an older brother, 9 years older. That probably means you guys weren't gaming too much together then, or am I wrong?
Really, we never really like. Yeah, we didn't. I mean, maybe a little bit when I was like super young, and he was still like maybe like 13 or 14. But once he hit high school, he was just kind of doing his own thing.
Sure. Yeah, I don't want to play the Nintendo with my little brother if it's 9 years older than me, for sure.
Yeah.
So were you as a young person? Were you as a kid? I guess that's what they're called, not just young person. Were you competitive? Were you trying to be competitive, or was gaming just more of a leisure activity?
Yeah, it was mostly just like a leisure thing to do for fun. Like I was a little bit competitive, like back in the day with like Tiberian Sun, like all those like Command and Conquer games. Like I got into that a little bit, played a little bit of like online on like my parents' like 56K modem or whatever. Sure.
Dial it up. Hope nobody calls the while you're trying to play.
Yeah, so like I got a little bit competitive, but I wasn't really that competitive until like in college. League of Legends came out, and then that's like the first game I got really into. That was mostly because like I had friends, and whenever you got like friends that play a competitive game, it's like you always want to be the best, right? So I got like probably way too into that game, but I was in college, so I had a lot of time.
What do you mean way too into it? Did it affect your grades and stuff as social life? Or
I would say other things affected my grades, like social life and all that was fine. I mean, I just wasn't doing well. I mean, you just probably shouldn't play like 30 hours of League of Legends a week. It's just not.
While in college, sure.
Yeah,
I mean, in general, right? Like you probably shouldn't be playing that much anyways.
Yeah,
unless you're getting paid to do it, I guess. But
yeah, you should just not be playing that much. But yeah, I mean, my friends are all living in we were all in the same like apartment. So we just go home and we just grind for like 6 hours or whatever, and then go to sleep, maybe take a shower.
What was it about League of Legends? Was it because I've never played any of the League of Legends games. Was it the fact that it's like a social thing, or was it the actual gameplay, or what was it?
I mean, the gameplay, at least like back in the day, was like a lot of fun, and like it kind of it's a little bit similar to like maybe StarCraft in the sense like, you know, you got like your character and you control them, but like in StarCraft it's like an army and you have to like build all this stuff, and you're like running as fast as you can in that game. It's like not that fun. But in League of Legends, it's like you just have one character you got to worry about, and you just have like your own little like section of the map. And I don't know, it was like something that like I could pick up, not super fast, but like it didn't feel like oppressively terrible to play. And then all my friends were playing it, and they all were super into it as well. So it's just like the combination, like it was fun, and my friends were super into it. So
did that continue on into other games, like League of Legends 2 or anything, or what did you have to like step away?
I mean, I played League for like off and on until like season 10 when I just got fed up with it. But other games, like I have another friend, it's not really part of that other friend group, who like I play a lot of other games that are not competitive with, just stuff like Borderlands or like, I don't know, like we played this other game called like PlanetSide 2. So like there's like tons of other games. Like, I don't know, I got a bunch of games like on PS5. He's the reason I own PS5. And like I play like Destiny 2. I don't like that game, but him and his wife and another friend play. So I just get stuck playing it. But so yeah, I play a lot of other games as well. But
so as you were growing up, did you kind of stay current with all the consoles, or did you just sort of gravitate to more PC stuff?
Like my parents tried to bribe me with an Xbox at some point. They're just like, please behave yourself and we'll like buy you this as a present. And so I had an Xbox, and I only really had Halo for it. Like I had a few other games, but I mean, if you were going to have any game, it was probably Halo. But
yeah,
I think I generally played mostly PC games. Like I did eventually get an Xbox 360 in college, and like played some stuff on that. Like, but again, it was mostly PC games. Although I do think I probably played more console games for a couple years in college, mostly just because we got super competitive at Super Smash Brothers, which is another super toxic game. But
why? What do you mean by toxic?
It's just like people get too competitive, and people get butthurt, and like especially when you're playing like in fighting games, when it's like 1v1v1v1, there's always this dynamic where like one or two people go hide, and then the other two people kill each other over and over again, and then people come over. So like then people start getting mad and like accusing other people of, you know, kind of being, you know, bitches or whatever. It's just like,
I remember that feeling. I mean, it goes all the way back for me for like GoldenEye, right? Like you'd have one person like hide in the corner. Yeah. Trying to snipe everyone else, let everyone like kill each other, and then kind of come in and take you out from there. And it's like, come on, man. And then you get in a fight, and then it becomes an actual fight.
Yeah. It's basically just that kind of stuff. I don't know. Games that have that dynamic, when it's like, again, it's like you're all like probably 15 to 20, whatever, and you're super competitive still and haven't learned to just chill the fuck out. None of this matters. So maybe I still haven't learned that. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe that's one of your issues, I guess. I don't know. Yeah. Did you like through League of Legends get turned on to like Let's Plays or Twitch at all, or was that later?
So actually, it was own.tv back in the day. It was like the prehistoric Twitch, which was like what
Justin TV?
I don't know. I've never heard of Justin TV, so maybe that's even earlier. I don't know.
Okay,
but Own was like where all the League of Legends people would stream back in the day, and so that's what got me into watching streams. And then eventually, everyone migrated to Twitch. And so I was into Twitch, but initially it was mostly just watching streams for League. But I actually got into speedrunning because of Dark Souls. Like I really liked Dark Souls 1, and so I was like Googling like YouTube videos, and I was like, what's like the fastest anyone's beat the game? And so I just like Googled or like searched on YouTube, and I found some video. I was like, wow, that's crazy. And then like I didn't really know about speedrunning like as a thing. Like it was like an actual community of people that would speedrun games until like I go on YouTube and I start seeing all these videos and like, so I actually got into speedrunning Dark Souls 1 for a little bit. I never got very good, but that kind of got me into watching speedruns on Twitch. And that's ultimately how I got into Link to the Past, is like I saw the 2017 main tournament going on, and it was like, oh, I remember this game. Like, what's Randomizer? And then I made the biggest mistake of my life and actually joined.
It all went downhill from there.
Yeah.
So The funny thing about Link to the Past Randomizer is, as we've been talking, you didn't really have like a big Zelda love, right? Like you played Link to the Past, I take it, but it wasn't something that like
I
you'd
probably
revisit annually.
I did like Escape.
Okay.
That's the extent of Link to the Past that I probably played. Like I was like I remember that game a little bit. Like I played it at my grandma's house with like my uncle's like Super Nintendo, but that's about the extent that I remembered. Like originally the first Zelda game I watched was actually Ocarina of Time, like speed runs, vanilla speed runs, because like I never actually played that game when I was a kid, but like I had a friend that was really into it, and so like I was like familiar with it and knew about it, but I was like, oh, what's this? And yeah, some of those, like, man, vanilla Ocarina of Time is like the amount of glitches and stuff is actually insane. Like,
yeah, for real. Like I remember, I remember earlier speedruns when there was like not all of the glitches had been found yet, and the speedrun was a little bit longer. Now it's like super short with the way they like the any percent, I think is relatively short.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what the current time is, but it's probably like sub 20 or something.
Yeah. So was there any Zelda series besides, I mean, you just mentioned Ocarina of Time, but was there any series of the Zelda series that you were a big fan of or played at all?
Probably Zelda 1 was like when I was really young. So here's the weird thing. Like when I was a little kid, like really, really young, like 3 or 4 years old, like I was like really into like Zelda, like and Link for some reason. I don't remember why, but like, I remember, I think for like one of the Halloweens, like I was Link and like I had some like toys that were like Zelda related themed toys. And so like I was like really into it as a kid, even though like I couldn't beat the games. And but like I think it was mostly Zelda 1 was as a kid that I was actually the most into. But I never beat it as a kid. But like even as a young kid, like my brother, like, okay, this is the first level and this is the second level. And like I don't know if I ever made it to the third level, but yeah, like, you know, when you're a kid, like you don't know what you're doing, but it's still fun. You turned it into your own game, I guess.
Maybe it was like the cartoon series or something.
I don't know. Was there a cartoon series?
Yeah, it was with the Super Mario Brothers cartoon show. There was like a little. That's where like the "Excuse me, princess" meme comes from.
Oh,
yeah, that's some good stuff. Okay, so you have no nostalgia for Link to the Past, like right? Like when you see this on Twitch, you see the tournament happening. What makes you decide I want to play this one of all games?
Well, really, it was just the like I was watching it. It was more like the randomizer part. I was like, "What's a randomizer?" And like, you know, most of these Zelda games have the same kind of formula where it's like, you know, you need to go get these items so you can unlock places, so you can get more items, so you can get more powerful, and so on and so forth. And so like. It very, very quickly, like I understood like, oh, so when you randomize it, it's like you have to figure out, you know, how to route the game. Like it's competitive and it has this kind of like, it's like game of chance kind of angle. Like back in college, like I played a lot of poker. Some of my friends got super competitive and some actually play for a living still today.
Oh, wow.
So like I got pretty into that stuff in college. So like, I definitely enjoy like these types of games of chance and whatnot. So like that's kind of the angle that initially kind of dragged me in. I was like, okay, so like you have to figure out how to efficiently route around the world and take into like all these probabilities into consideration. And like it's also competitive and you're trying to go as fast as you can. And so like it's just kind of the general gameplay seemed like something I might be into. So I was willing to at least give it a shot and see if I liked it. And so I just tried a few seeds offline. I was like, this is actually pretty fun.
Little did you know.
Yeah.
So how deep into poker did you actually get? Did you get close to like playing in Vegas, or was it mostly casual?
Like, I mean, my friends and I would go to the like, Indian casinos in San Diego sometimes. But I wasn't like, I didn't have a lot of money and I didn't really, I really, it's kind of funny, but like, I really just hated losing to bad luck because yeah, that's real money. It's like, I'm losing my lunch money to this idiot who just got lucky. And so that like, I would get really tilted and not too happy. And that would start impacting my play. And I just knew that poker long term wasn't really for me, and I didn't enjoy it a lot. Like I would play and things would be okay, and then like I would go on a bad streak where, you know, like even my friends that play like professionally, like they'll have like months where they lose like tens of thousands of dollars, right? And it's like you just go to the casino, you play well and you just get shit on. And it's like really, really hard mentally to deal with that. And so I didn't like that aspect of poker, which is kind of strange that like, well, that kind of happens in rando too. But
I mean, I can't handle it. And it's like such low stakes in the rando world. I can't imagine like losing, you know, thousands of dollars and being okay with it.
Yeah. So like, poker is definitely not for everyone just because of that. I'd say like the two hardest things of poker is like dealing with the kind of mental stress of that. And then also managing your money. Because like you just have lots of cash on you and you're at the casino and some people aren't very good at dealing with that.
Yeah, for sure. Or like the mentality of like, oh, I got to win it back. I lost it. Now I got to win it back. Oh, that's was my problem is like, all right, I'm down 100. If I just put another 100 in, I can get that 100 back. Now I'm down 200. Shit.
Yeah. I mean, like some of my friends have spent like 24 hours at the casino trying to get back to even. It's like that's definitely another problem as well. So
yeah, for sure. Okay, so you find Link to the Past Randomizer through, you said, the 2017 main tournament. Is that right?
Yeah.
Do you remember much about watching that? Was it? I take it was probably speed gaming and stuff.
Yeah, it was like speed gaming. I don't remember a whole lot. That was like the prehistoric days. A lot of the people in that tournament don't even play anymore.
Sure.
But yeah, I don't remember like too many specifics. I probably watched like 15 races, I'd say though. So like I watched a decent amount of races. And like I was watching them to try to like learn and get better. You know, like I wasn't just like, oh, let's see who wins or whatever. Like I was like actively, like as soon as I watched a few races, like I started playing and like playing lots of seeds and watching more races, try to get better. So like I was already in like competitive
grind
mode.
Like,
I was in grind mode.
Yeah, right out of the gate, just like let me figure this out. So do you start playing offline? How long do you play offline before you do your first race?
Well, I played for a few months and then some like shit went down during the summer. And so I stopped playing for a while. I didn't really actually do a race. I think maybe the spring 2018 tournament was literally my first race against PKR. That might have been my first race ever.
Your first race ever was the 512 tournament? Was that the 512 tournament?
Yeah, it was a 512 tournament against PKR in the first round of Swiss. I was like,
and I take it you got smoked.
Yeah. I mean, like I was actually not too far behind until I died to cold stare about like an hour into the race. And then like, see, even then when I was terrible at every aspect of the game, I knew that I had to just go Papega because like, there's no way I can win. This person's not dying to cold stare. So I just did everything else in the game and then hard last located like Meyer. And I was like, okay, well, at least I tried.
That's a tough first opponent to go against.
Yeah. Like I was like looking at SRL. I'm like, oh, they're like top 10 SRL. That's cool.
So how did you play out the rest of the tournament? Because it was Swiss, right? Like you.
Yeah, I actually went 5-2 and made brackets. So
what? In your first tournament, you went 5-2.
Yeah.
Holy shit, dude! Like you came out. Yeah. I didn't realize this because I think you started a little bit before me with this tournament and start till after. Gosh, 5-2. That's impressive.
Yeah.
So I take it you were grinding a lot then offline, like
while the tournament was going on and like maybe a month before it started. Yeah, I started grinding a lot again to try to like, you know, get back up to speed. But like you can watch, like there's some VOD still like on YouTube. You can go watch and you can see like let's just say I'm not like the best.
Sure. But I guess it's perspective, right? Because there's 512 people playing in this tournament. We don't even really have that. I don't think we could pull off another 512 tournament.
Yeah.
In the community again. So obviously the caliber of talent is different than it was, 5 years ago or whatever. But still, it's still impressive. It took me a while to get to top 32 or top 64 in the main tournament. Like I got smoked a lot. So how did it go from there? What was your experience in the brackets?
I just got destroyed by, okay. the first round of brackets was against Christos Owen, who's like, back when he played was like a beast. And the first game, actually, I dropped down into Ganon with an 8-minute lead with silvers, and I lost. So
embarrassing. That's embarrassing.
To be fair, like I had just flown back home from New York and gotten 2 hours of sleep that night. So I don't know. I'll just use that.
Did
as
you
my
have a master sword?
Yeah, I was on Master Sword.
Okay,
so,
I understand that. Yeah.
Well, so what really happened was I forgot to pick up the magic before Moldorm, and so I went down there with like only like a tiny bit of magic, and I just couldn't land the spins and ran out of magic. So
that stinks.
Yeah, but oh well. Like I was super happy to make the bracket at all. Like I was like, oh, I can't believe I even have a positive record. So, but yeah, he 2-0'd me or whatever, and I think he ended up getting second and lost to Andy in finals. So
yeah, okay. I mean, that's coming out of the gates pretty strong, right? Like, so are you feeling pretty good right away?
I mean, like I feel like reasonably realistic. Like tournaments are a terrible way to measure like how you do. Cause like, honestly, like I played a couple
small sample size.
Small sample size. And like, who you like, I played like PKR and Gloin, who back then were both like really solid runners. But, like, I don't know, maybe I just had an easy schedule and it's only like 7 or 8 races and maybe I got lucky. And like, I don't know, I had like a 2-hour race against Fantalus, which I barely won or something. And, it's like, whatever, like, but like in the SRL races back in the day, these were like, that was like all that was really going on, right? Is these big group like dailies and weeklies, like, you can pretty quickly get an idea of where you actually stand. And, I knew that I wasn't like that good because these people would like just beat me by 5 minutes with 10 more checks all the time. And I'm like, like you gotta be realistic. It's like, okay, like I still have a lot of room to improve and whatnot. So like, I didn't feel like I was insane, but I felt like obviously it feels pretty good to at least make brackets in the tournament. So,
I mean, come on, man. Yeah, that's impressive, especially with a tournament that's of that size. So you do well in your first tournament, but you're playing a lot of races from what I remember. We're in the same time zone, so I feel like you and I were racing quite a bit in 2018.
Yeah, definitely 2018. Like that was like I feel like a lot of people like have a similar trajectory where it's like they get introduced to the game, they're like obsessed with the game, they play a ton of the game, and then at some point the game just like shits on them super hard and says, fuck you, you're not winning for 20 races in a row. And then they're like, you know what, let's just take a step back and maybe take a little break. Fuck this game. And so that's pretty much how I went. Like I played a ton in 2018, and then like in 2019, like I was just getting destroyed in like every race that I played. And so I just took a break for several months, and then I've still obviously played from there on, but it's been more like, 0 to 4 races a week rather than like 8 to 9 races a week.
Right. So. Yeah. Cause I mean, in 2018, as you mentioned, you're just getting into it. So is I, so is Gamachu, and we're all on the West Coast. We're playing a lot. I don't know if you remember this, but we had a race on my birthday. I think it might've been 2019 at this point. And you smoked us because you hovered.
Yeah, the hover one. Yeah, I remember that one.
that was the day where I was like, this fucking guy beats me by hovering. I'm like, I sat there and learned to hover because of you. I was so pissed.
Yeah, I remember watching your stream and I was like, wow, it took him like 30 minutes to learn how to hover. Like, okay, damn.
But I look back at those times and the three of us. And, there's some other West Coasters as well doing a lot of races back then and have really fond memories of, because, like we weren't that good yet. We were just learning but we were like pushing each other in a way that was like helping us to get better.
Yeah. I just remember like in early 2019, like it was pretty even for like a lot of us. And then like I took a long break and then came back at the end of the year, and then suddenly Gamma didn't want to play open anymore. He only want to play 80 keys, and he would never lose ever. And I'm just like, what the hell happened to this guy?
Yep. So, the son of a bitch.
Yeah.
So what was your feel with the community at this time? Did it feel like you found people to like become friendly with, or
not really.
Okay.
Like I basically completely kept to myself until like I think season 2 of League was like really the first time I said more than like GG and talked a little bit and like, you know, after the race, when I teamed up with Relkin and Zero Rush. So, and then eventually I got invited to some like Discord server, and that's really the first time I actually felt like, okay, like maybe let's try to make some friends in the community and, you know, say hi to people.
Sure.
But that was probably not until like 2020.
So 2 years. Were you okay with that position of being kind of like, I'm just playing this game, I'm not looking to make friends?
Like I like to make friends, but I tend to be like more of an introvert and just not like, I don't really like, I'm not going to go chase people down and like, just, I don't know, like, especially online, like, I don't know. I don't know.
I understand. I get
it. It's not straightforward for me to like make inroads with random people on the internet.
Sure.
So I don't know.
So how did the team up of you, Relkin, and Zero Rush happen in season 2? That was when you guys were I Like Big Boots, which is an excellent name, by the way.
Yeah, I can't remember exactly whether it was like I just literally, I want to say I think I just posted to like looking for group, and I was like, if I randomly find 2 decent players to like play with, like sure, whatever. But if it's just like no one's really interested, then like actually what had really happened is the 2019 fall tournament was like a complete disaster for me. Like I qualified like top quartile and then just got destroyed in groups to just total bullshit. And so I was like mega tilted, and I was like, if I don't get on a team, I'm probably just done with this game. And I didn't have high hopes, but like somehow I think Relkin messaged me and then he's like, dude, like want to team up with me and Zero? I was like, all right. That's pretty good.
Yeah, that's like 2 legit players. Yeah. I mean, Relkin a definite an up and comer, and of course Zero being the old timer of the group.
Yeah, I was like, oh, these guys are like way better than I expected to get interest from. So I'm like, this is great.
So you guys have a really good season, 13-1. It looks like in the regular season.
Yeah, we tied, I think, with the Kyong Frame, and I forget if that was like Super and Taylor or something.
Yeah, yep. That was kind of Rando retired.
Yeah.
And it looks like you guys actually had a tiebreaker race that season. It looks like Zero Rush lost to Framey in the tiebreaker.
Yeah, that was kind of that whole, well, we like beat the spoilers, which was Zelga, Shady, and Dr. Marty in the first round of playoffs. And then, we lost in game 5 in the second round to the whatever they were, Rando retired.
Kind of retired,
Yeah, in game 5. And that game came down to like Zero Rush was going to Hera Basement, Kyong was going to the big chest of Thieves Town, and one of them had to be correct, and unfortunately it was the big chest of Thieves Town, and we just ended up losing. But it was still a really fun series, and season 2 was a lot of fun.
It was I was going to ask you about just the experience of the league, because you talked about being kind of solo, and all of a sudden you're with new people. I guess you're making friends with Relkin and Zero Rush. Was it a good experience overall? Yeah,
like I tried to like check out their streams and say hi to them more when they're streaming or doing whatever, and message them if I if I saw them playing in a race and like say GG or whatever. So like I was like making more of an effort to like try to get out there or whatever. And
sure,
overall, like League was completely new to most people at that point, and it was like no one's gonna bitch about like the modes or formats or whatever. It's just like everyone's just there and no one has any expectations. So it was just pretty like, I would chill. Say it was definitely the most chill season, I would say.
For you, baby, that was a tough one for me.
Well, yeah, for me, you guys got like second or something overall.
Oh yeah, I mean, as far as like the team goes, I think we had a pretty good season, but I mean, from an admin perspective, we went from like we're going to allow 32 teams, and it filled up super fast. So we had
or something.
14 seconds. It filled up.
14 seconds.
Yes.
Oh man.
So we had to expand it to 64. It was a giant mess. But so you guys come back. Same team comes back for the following year, season 3, the first year of the Invitational. looks like you had a little bit of a rougher season. You went 3-3 that year. Zero Rush went 4-3-1, and Relkin went 5-3-1. But you did make the playoffs.
Yeah, that was like, I don't know, this might be a controversial thing to say, but that was like peak league for me, because like that was like the hardest season. Like you look at the teams in my division, and like, dude, there's some stacked teams, and so yeah, it was like a dogfight to even make the playoffs. And you know, the reason.
Yeah, I'm looking at your division. Last location years were number 1. Well, that's Lynn, Illis, and Goomba at 10-3-1. Triple Down Disaster, which was Yoshi, Shireen, and Schulzer, also finished 10-4, and then you guys finished 9-4. And then
9-4-1.
9-4-1, and which gave you the tiebreaker, I guess, over the Spoilers, who finished 9-5.
Yeah.
And then you had two Furious, Scary, Oase, and Trinex. Never Do Chickens with Allison, Dracaris, and Wolfie. Team Hinman, Brave Escarpment, and Dragon Strike.
Yeah.
Almost got relegated, and Alex had Cuttabat and Teto. That's a stacked. I mean, that is stacked.
Yeah. I mean, that's like 4 teams that could win the whole league, in my opinion. So, you know, that was a pretty tough group, and we were like super happy to make it. It literally came down to like the last race. Me and Relkin had to beat Goomba and Lynn in co-op Randomizer, and I had just learned you know that like bullshit staircase in Swamp Palace. I had just learned how to like E-dash and like hold up and left or something like that. And so I got the big key, and I was like, let's go use this new tech. And then I got the ice rod out of big chest, but Lynn just did waterfall chest and said, screw it, and bailed. So that's how we got the win. But like, really, it shouldn't come down to that, because that was that won the tie. That was because Zero Rush did not get the free gold sword out of the GT Torch in Randomizer. So he lost like a minute in the GT clan, and then we somehow got a tie out of that.
That's hilarious.
Yeah. But, oh boy. You know, I mean, we were all super happy to make the playoffs, and then we just got swept by Shireen's team. So
yeah, that kind of happens. Yeah, that's a stacked season. You mentioned it's controversial, but that was the peak of the league for you think?
I just, you know, like, I'm not trying to make people feel bad, but like, that was just like, I felt like every week was like, you got to fight tooth and nail against really ridiculous players, and you don't know if you're going to make the playoffs. It's like, it comes down to the last week. Like, just look at the logjam in the division. You know, there's like all sorts of tiebreakers. I think like 2 Pearl, 2 Furious could have even like the last week could have ended up like in 3rd or something. And so I don't know. It was like super competitive, and every week felt like it was like really tough. So
I mean, I'm looking at some of these teams, even in other divisions, like, this is the year that Wally, Sir Linkalot, and Nielsen Alex went 0-14.
Yeah.
That's nuts.
Wally just couldn't win a game, man.
Yeah.
Poor Wally, dude.
That's bananas. I mean, you just look at it was in the height of COVID, right? Like,
yeah, it was the height of COVID. It was the first time the Invitational existed. It's the new thing in town. Everyone wanted to play it. So, you know, I mean, I'm not trying to imply that it's not difficult to do well and that every division is free, and it's just, for me personally, it felt like that season was like extra crazy. I also think maybe our division was poorly balanced, if I may say.
I mean, in retrospect, maybe, but I mean, I don't know how you would change it. I always feel like I have to defend it because I was a part of the admin team that put it, but I didn't put the divisions together. I always let the non-playing admins put it together. But I mean, it's hard to balance, as you say, like, right? Like, look at every team on here. It's like,
I mean, for sure, like, that season is like, it's tough. So, and
freaking Megawatts team, the Drifters, went 14-0 and won in the league that year. That's bananas.
Yeah, that was a hell of a run. Megawatt went undefeated. So I was like, okay. And then he retired basically from Rando. It's like, later.
That's how you do it. You just don't lose and then say goodbye.
Yep, go out on top.
Season 4, you come back. Relkin's gone. He joins the Titans Mitts. You guys replace him with Hitsi, and of all people, how did that kind of come about?
Well, Hitsu, you know, like, I think around that time, like, I think that might have been like banned from ladder one of the various times. And so I had been playing a lot of cross keys with him, just like on like race time or whatever. Just I was trying to learn cross keys, and he just was like happy to have someone to play cross keys with, so it worked out. And so after Relican left, I was like, "Yo, you want to join?" And so yeah, he's like, "Yeah, let's do it." Like I don't know. I mean, it was probably a upgrade for him team wise, and I don't know. Hitsu's probably a little bit like me in that like he's maybe too competitive, and you know, let's just say like we don't have like millions of friends in the community, so it's not like we had tons of options for teams to be on. So you know, we're just kind of prisoners happy to share the same jail cell or something. So
sure. No, I mean it makes sense. Hitsu's a really good runner, and yeah, for sure. Zero Rush had a really rough season that year. He was barely playing rando, I think.
Yeah, this is the beginning of the decline of the legend of Zero Rush. You know, he just didn't play a ton anymore, and you know it's totally understandable. If you don't play a lot, like you're just gonna make mistakes and whatnot, and your execution gets a little bit dull, and you know it's just hard to stay at the top.
For sure. Overall, how'd you feel about the season? You guys lost the first round of the playoffs to Magliacci.
Yeah. That was a disappointment for me because I honestly felt like our team, like maybe it wasn't like we're gonna win the league tier, but like I felt like we would at least get a round or two in the playoffs. But that was the one where I lost to Moogle because I refused to check a Gina cave. I was just like, no, it's not there, and it was there, and so I lost. And then I think Zero Rush, like I don't know, he had some unfortunate mishap in Vroja or inverted or whatever the inverted mode was, and yeah, Hitsu I think won his game, so he did his job, but yeah, we just kind of shit the bed, Zero Rush and I. So I don't know, it was a disappointment, but I don't know.
At this point, I mean, you're 2021, 2022. Do you feel like you're hitting the top of your game? I mean, you start doing better in the main tournaments as well, right?
Honestly, like I feel like I've just very slowly gotten better over time, and like I'm definitely better now than I was a year ago, and I'm definitely better a year ago than I was a year before that. So like I was definitely better than I was in like 2019, but like I don't know, I was still probably putting up like 5:15 escape times in Kaz boots back then. So it's like I don't know, it's just for me been a very slow, gradual improvement over the years. I didn't have the mindset that like I'm a top 10 player and I'm just going to beat everyone. Like, I don't know.
I get that. Tournament grinder, right? Like I feel like you've been playing a lot cross keys tournament, main tournaments, league. I feel like qualifying for like ladder stuff as well.
Yeah, I mean, this is one of the things that's really frustrated me in the last like 6 months is people only remember like how things go recently, and like dude, since 2019 I've been shit on in almost every single tournament. Like 2019 main tournament knocked out in groups, top like as a Q1 like qualifier, 2020 SGL got knocked out in groups as like top 20 qualifier or something like that. Got knocked out in the first round of brackets, winners brackets in the 2021 SGL as like a top 10 seed. Season 2 league, knocked out in the second round, season 3, knocked out in the first round, season 4, knocked out in the first round. Agile Boots Invitational in the first one, knocked out in the first round, 1 and 2, or no, 0 and 2. That's actually when Zero Rush made the joke that I went 0 and 4. Knocked out in the first round of the Open Plus Invitational. I've never made the cross keys like play-in race, although it's actually really hard to make that. So pretty much every tournament I've had except the 2021 main tournaments before this year has been a complete failure from my perspective. So I don't know. It's like I've gotten shit on in so many tournaments, and it's a little frustrating when people act like, oh, he just got routes every race. It's like, dude, you want me to go through like the 30, 40, 50 races that I've gotten totally fucked by making one skip? Yeah. They're there. You can go watch them.
Yes, they're definitely there. That's the thing, right? We see this race and we compare it to the one race that we're watching here, and it's like, oh, I heard GGW won this other race. He's whatever, right? But you're talking about all these times that you feel like you call them complete failures, but I mean, still, it's tough, right? The game is tough.
Yeah, it's tough, and there is definitely an element of RNG, and it's just, a few things don't go your way and you lose. So I don't know. That's just like, there's other people in the community, like, that have, in my opinion, not performed as well as they should in tournaments. And there's definitely some people in tournaments that tend to overperform. And it's just, if you take like 100 people and you line them up and you just assign them a random luck factor, like 1 to 20, like if you take someone who's like a top tier runner and give them a 1 for luck over like 10 tournaments, like they're going to struggle to make it out of like groups or like the first round of brackets, And if you give somebody who's also a top player a 20 luck factor, they're going to win like every other tournament. So it's just, luck is a huge factor. And that's also one of the reasons why this game's so hard. Is it's really easy to lie to yourself and tell yourself you're just getting unlucky, but it's also easy to get down on yourself and feel like you're just playing bad when it's actually just bad luck. So it's really hard to tell the difference.
It is hard to tell the difference. I think I feel, for me personally, I feel like I've never been able to distinguish the two, whether I'm being unlucky or whether I'm just not good. I feel like I think I'd lean more to the I'm not good portion, but that's just how I think of myself.
I mean, general. Compared to literally like Gamma, like, okay, you're maybe not as good as Gamma, but you make the mistake of always playing against like,
I know,
the best of the best, and then you lose by 3 minutes, and then you're like, oh, I suck. It's like, dude, you beat like 95% of the community in the same race. So like,
that's the problem, is I'd always be racing you getting Gamma, Julo, and Moogle, right? Like those, that's kind of our group that we'd racing with. And fucking Gambit, you would always just talk, we'd be in a voice call or something and be like, oh, I'm so far behind. And then he dots done like 4 minutes before you, and you're just like, what am I doing? What is this? Oh, it was super frustrating.
Yeah.
But what's not frustrating, well, for you, season 5 of the league, you replace Zero Rush, the dead weight of the team. You keep it in, and you bring in a ringer that no one knew as a ringer. Telethar comes in, and you have pretty good season, I would say.
Yeah, we did okay. It was a little bit of disappointment. We did drop a few races, so
you did go 12-2 overall in the season. But we talked about this earlier. You beat Gamachu twice to advance to the finals and take on the Pugs of all teams, which is probably the favorite going into the season when you put Andy, Airy, and Dante on the team.
Yeah, I'd say if it was 7 weeks of Kaz Boots and every mode was Kaz Boots in the playoffs, so you might as well just give them the trophy. But there's some other modes and there's some clown bullshit. And so that gives people like Hitsu a chance and me a chance and Telethar a chance to,
I can't believe I lost to Hitsu. I'm just going to say that right here. I can't believe I lost to Hitsu because he died to freaking Aga 1, man. He died at the top.
I remember that.
He died at the top of Aga 1. It was in Vroja. And I died to blind, so I felt terrible. And then all of a sudden I start skipping everything. I pull the skip card. I skip the dumbest skip. I still think it's stupid, especially looking back on it, having knowledge of what happened. Skipped Eastern Palace big key chest when I knew it was an item, and it was the hook shot, which ends up giving Hitsu the win. But that didn't help the Divine Beastie Boys.
Yeah, no, I mean, you have to just have a certain level of luck to be able to make those skips and get away with them. And I just have the luck,
And then, I mean, your 2 races with Gamachu again, like look at the times. The first one, you 103.13 to 107.48, and then 110.33, and then he didn't finish that one.
Yeah, he was only a few minutes behind me, but I think he was not in the mood to finish it out.
Yeah, he actually skipped the interview on that one. The very few times that Gamachu skipped an interview.
Yeah, he was definitely not too happy, but I can't blame him, But like, I don't know. It's like you get 2 Giga Jet Seeds against someone like me that's gonna play mega aggressive, and it's like, well, yeah, if you just skip bumper ledge twice and it's there, like, thanks for playing. I don't know.
Yeah. But you take that into the finals against the Pugs. Telethar loses to Airy. You guys are down 0-1, and then you win against Dante. Hitsu wins against Andy. just barely. I remember Andy like ended up skipping the boots or something in that seat. I can't really remember.
Yeah, he forgot to turn in the mushroom.
Yeah,
when
he
was
like walked
over there.
right past it too and everything.
Yeah.
And just barely lost. And then you had it looks like a really close one in the finals against Dante. You finished 127.23. You finished 127.53 to take the whole thing.
That was that was a lovely race. That one, like, you would think I'd be happy, but like 30 seconds after that race was over, I joined a voice call and people are like, oh, people on this server are accusing you of cheating. This person's saying you're a cheater. This person's saying you're a cheater. I got some lovely screenshots from people. I'm just like, that's cool. Why do I even fucking play this game? So
did it really take the wind out of the sails there?
Yeah, 100%. Like, it's just like, really? Like, oh, okay. Like, whatever, man.
Mm-hmm.
And then I joined the interview, and then Dante's like, how do you beat someone that just beelines to progression every game? I'm like, coming from you, buddy? The Mr. Like, I win every tournament? Like, okay. Yeah. There's some people in the community that just don't get to be salty. So that's all I'll say.
Have you rectified that as far as your feelings towards, winning the league that year?
I don't know. Like, there's just some people in the community I'll probably never get along with ever again. But other than that, it's just like, whatever. I don't know. It's like, I don't know, man. That game 4 was like, it was super close. And in the end, you could say I got lucky because I turned in the shroom when I like mistakenly tried to buy a potion as I was about to go to Meyer. And I was like, fuck it. But I don't know, man. What really frustrated me is like, I did so many checks in that game that Dante didn't do. And it was just like, I'm the one that got lucky, apparently. Like, I don't know. But
Sure.
that's just, people just look at the result and it's like, I guarantee there's 30 seconds of time save in there somewhere for him.
Sure. And also, I mean, Dante is one of the more popular people in the community. You are a controversial person in the community. I feel like there's like outside forces that are weighing.
I mean, that's fair. I mean, people are more likely to be, let's just say, negative if they don't like you. So
sure,
or try to take away from your win or discredit you.
Right.
So.
They don't like the way you handle yourself online. So this is their chance to try to discredit you or whatever. Like, obviously you're not cheating. There's nothing in any of our races that makes me think that you're cheating, especially when you talk through like logically. Like, we talked about this race today that you just did, right? Like,
yeah,
nothing about that felt like cheating. It's just, I think there's a element of luck that people get tired of that isn't fair. It's not fair at all. It's not fair to you. It's not fair to the runners. It's not fair to the people that are playing the game to be called lucky. I lost my mind when someone called me lucky.
Probably my favorite. That's not infamous. That's just famous, man. That's a great interview.
I got so tired of being called lucky, right? Like, because what it's trying to do is discredit you, right? It's trying to take away the fact that you earned it. Yeah, you earned your team. I like Big Boots earned the title,
right?
So how do we discredit that because we don't like you? That sucks. That sucks. Like, it's tough.
Yeah, that's one of the reasons why I think now I just won't do a lot of interviews anymore, because honestly, like, it's not just me, but dealing with salty people in interviews, it's like some people when they lose, it's just like they just can't. It's like, look, if you're gonna be salty, just go, man. Just don't even do the interview. Like, there's some people that just don't do interviews, and like, I totally get it, but going in the interview and being salty and just trying to take stuff away from people, it's like I don't know, man. It's just like, I definitely have struggled in my gaming career with tilt and salt, but like, when I'm really feeling salty, I usually just say nothing at all and just go away. And like, I think that's all, that's the way to handle it.
That's the way to handle it, right? Like, I think the problem, and one of the reasons that we'll talk about tilt, and I'll ask you about that later, is I don't know if it's just in ALTTPR. I'm sure it's in all sort of gaming communities, competitive gaming communities, where you lose and then you try to discredit your loss discredit the person that beat you.
Right.
And it's just the shittiest thing to do because it's just shitty. It's just shitty.
Yeah,
and so like it's okay to be salty, right? But to take it out on the other person is always the worst way to handle it.
Yeah, it's just like don't try to bring people down. Just even if they really did get lucky, sometimes people do get lucky. It's just like just let it go. Go complain to your friends on your private Discord or whatever. And just call it a day.
I think this is to your credit. I think one of the things, like I said, to your credit, is I don't think I've seen you in an interview shit on another person. Like even when you think here comes GGW guns ablazing, I feel like you've always been really cordial in your interviews.
And trust me, it's really hard sometimes, but I really do make an effort because it's just, you don't need to air your dirty laundry in front of hundreds of people or thousands of people or whatever. It's just not the place for that. If I really don't feel like I can be friendly, then I just don't join. But
I do think knowing you and watching you run, I think the thing that you do the most is always think you're behind. I feel like every time I'm watching you, you're always like shitting on yourself. Like, oh, that's it. I'm like 10 minutes behind now or whatever. You always like, it's like constant. You like constantly think that you're behind in every race. Does that come from the losses, I guess?
So like in my head, I'll have like a map, like a route mapped out. That's like the most reasonable route, that's also like the fastest route. So I'm just kind of comparing myself to what somebody might reasonably do, like that is like just it's like okay, like somebody might go over here and it's like just to give you an example, it's like if I start Hype Cave and then the mitts end up being like in the front of Skull Woods, and so I have to backtrack to go do like the Smith Chain or something like that, then in my head, I'm like, oh, I just lost like 45 seconds because I got unlucky with where I started. Maybe my opponent started there. Of course, that doesn't mean that they did start there and they did make up that time. It just is like compared to like a hypothetical God route, like this is how far behind I am, which like realistically, when I'm actually making in-game decisions, like I'm aware of the probability that these situations actually played out. And so I'm probably sound more negative than I really am, but it's more just a way for me to like I'm frustrated, and that's just kind of how I like project my frustration is like, oh, we're just screwed because of this, or it's like we're not actually screwed because of that. Like I watch a lot of other speed runs and a lot of other speedrunners, like various other games and stuff. They'll just say their run's dead when something bad happens, even though it's not dead. Yeah, they lost 10 seconds, but it's not dead. But they'll just be like, oh, run's dead. So it's kind of like, I don't know. It's like a hypothetical time loss against somebody that did something different that is very possible to have happened, I guess is the way to explain it.
Saying. Yeah, I see what you're saying. So you win the league. You end up, like I said, mentioned previously, you won the ladder invitational recently as well. You're in the main tournament top 32 right now. How are you feeling about things overall? I mean, do you feel like the ladder win validates you in some way? Do you think going far in the main tournament is going to change things? Because I mean, like you won the league. There's something to be super proud of with the league, despite the shit that came from it, right? Like,
I don't know. I feel like at the end of the day, it's like all the people that don't like me are probably still not gonna give me any credit. So I guess I just have to be happy for myself. So it is what it is.
You have a lot of people that are happy for you too. Like, we shit on each other all the time in our Discord, but that's what friends do, right? Like, super, super excited for you to win the league, and super excited for you to win the Kaz Boots tournament, and rooting for you here in the main tournament as well.
Yeah, I mean, no, there's definitely people that I'm friends with in the community that are happy for me and whatnot, and that's cool. And So I shouldn't be too hard on myself or too negative, but yeah, I guess that's just like you said. It's like tend to be more negative or like take a more pessimistic view, and so sometimes it's like the opposite of the people that are always in Fantasyland, where every group is the most crazy group ever, and it's the strongest bracket you've ever seen. It's like I'm like on the other side of that equation of personality, and so that's honestly the source of a lot of conflict. Is just I don't mix well with those types of people.
It's the yin and the yang. You need the balance, right? You need the balance to speak truth to both sides, where it's like everything is sunshine and rainbows, everything is shitty. Somewhere in the middle, Like I was recently looking through a thread in the league Discord where we were talking about like the strength of the league, or like you brought up the idea of like maybe shrinking the size of the invitational. I think there was a lot of like good points that you made, but the way you made them, it just caused such a shitstorm. You know what I mean? Like,
I would agree with that take. Is just it was not the best way to word things. But I don't know how to word things in such a way where I'm just like, so the main problem with that whole post was like, I'm complaining about like rich people problems, and like no one wants to hear a billionaire complain about their like overcooked steak, you know? And I'm just like, there's not enough like good teams in my division. Like, wah. It's like, no one wants to fucking hear that. It's like, fuck off, dude. Like, like go wipe yourself with like a golden, piece of toilet paper, like no one wants to hear it.
The butler come and wipe you down.
So it's just like, you're not going to get any sympathy, and no one wants to hear that shit. So it's like, nothing's going to happen. But you might think like, well, why would you post it? Because like at the end of the day, there's only like 5 or 6 people's opinions who really matter, and that's the league admins. So at the end of the day, if one of those people has this tiny little brain cell that activates and is like, this season, like there's 8 more drops. Should we just pull 8 more teams from the open league? Or maybe he had a point. Like, let's at least think about it.
Yeah.
Like that's all I'm asking for. And maybe I should have approached that post a little bit better. And I probably could have avoided a lot of drama, but that's really who the target audience was, is the 6 people in the community whose opinions actually matter.
Mm-hmm. Sure. And, there's people in the community that just love to argue as well.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
I don't really like to argue, I would say, but I'm also not going to shy away from it either. So
Sure. As far as like, sorry, we're going a little long. You're cool with that, right?
Yeah, it's fine.
Okay. As far as like giving back to the community or whatever, has there been any thought of like council or at tournament admining or any of that stuff?
Oh man. So as soon as I had like my negative interaction with ACK many years ago, I knew that council is like never going to happen, and any kind of tournament admin was probably never going to happen, because there's just a certain in-groups or in the community that have a lot of influence, and if you're on the wrong side of that group, it's just like, that's never going to happen. So I know it's not going to happen. And so that's one of the reasons why, like, all I can kind of do is complain, guys. It's my only option. So like, I wouldn't join those things because like, I'm just not going to get on. Like, sorry. I thought of starting my own tournament, but then I'm like, it's a little bit too spiteful to start my own tournament just to try to like prove a point that somebody's format is bad.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. The way I've given back is creating the awesome tracker that you helped me with.
Oh, that tracker is my favorite. You created a cross keys tracker. Where can people get it?
On GitHub, Z3R tracker.
Sweet. It's such a good tracker. I didn't really do anything. You did.
You made all the icons, which is the thing that I can't do.
Yeah, but the reason it works is because of what you've done. When I played cross keys, it was definitely my go-to. It's a really good tracker.
There's a tournament coming up soon. You can dust off your NT.
Well, apparently, is it 2020? I saw it was like 2024 cross keys tournament. The icon changed.
Oh, really?
Are they skipping this year? I have no idea.
Well, maybe. I don't know.
I'll skip it. How about that?
Sure.
Where do you think the community? How do you think the community is? How do you think the future of Rando is? Is it healthy? I mean, like, I know I know one of your big contentions is like the modes that a lot of the big tournaments have been choosing.
Yeah, it's just there's definitely been a shift in the community from like many years ago. Every tournament was like open 7-7 for 5 months. And I think a lot of people gave feedback that like, yo, we want to play some other stuff. This is boring, which is completely valid and, completely reasonable. And, I think you mentioned League, like League was kind of supposed to be the tournament where like, yeah, you guys had some wacky modes and, it's not supposed to be like 7 weeks of like casual boots and cross keys or whatever. And so I don't know. It's just like a never-ending battle of people that want too much variety or people that hate variety and just want to play like, the big 3 or 4 modes or over and over. So I don't know. Like at the end of the day, like honestly, I'm trying to get out of the business of having strong opinions on this because at the end of the day, it's like arguing about your favorite flavor of ice cream or whatever. And it's just like, honestly, I think in terms of like player base, like I think some of these tournaments have declined a little bit in terms of players, but there's also a lot more tournaments now than there were like a few years ago. So overall, I think the community's like, it's doing fine in terms of like the player base and player pool. And there's just a lot of tournaments now where like, yeah, some of the big names don't come out because they just don't want to play in that tournament because they don't like the modes or the format or whatever. But there's like 2 or 3 other tournaments that they're going to play instead. And that's just kind of how it is. The community is a little more fragmented now than it used to be.
Yeah, for sure. So when you win the main tournament, do you keep playing or when is GGW done?
If I win the main tournament, I'll definitely be done because I'm pretty sure I'll just get banned at that point. But no, like I'm definitely like closer to the end of playing than the beginning for sure. And I don't know if I'll do League next season. I don't know. I might just take a break. There's a lot of other games I want to play and speed run and whatnot. Like what? Well, right now I'm trying to get better at Zelda 1 Randomizer. And the goal is to go to SGL and play that. We'll see how good I can get. But there's other games like I kind of wanted to go back to some of the Dark Souls games and speedrun those. And, that's like, that'll be a big time investment if I actually want to get competitive at them. So
sure. Maybe a little Quest 64.
Yeah, dude, Quest 64. I think maybe I'll go beat Gamma's like top 200 time or whatever.
All right, thanks for letting me keep you long. Let me ask you the final question. How do you handle tilt? Like the question that I ask everyone, whether it's in the middle of the seed or post race, how do you feel you handle tilt? Do you feel like you need to handle tilt better? I don't know. Tell me your thoughts.
I definitely don't handle tilt super well. And a lot of times in races when I get tilted, especially if it's like I lost a lot of time, you'll just kind of see me go into like panic mode. And I don't know, like against Blaine in the main tournament a couple years ago, like that was the like biggest meltdown ever had. Like I died to Cold Stare. I had like tempered sword, fire rod, like a blue potion, and like died somehow.
Wow.
And so after that, I was like, I felt like there's, classic my mentality, like, oh, there's no way I can win. Like, I just have to play like a complete clown and make all these sorts of skips and blah, blah, blah. And like, I think I tried to get into, that was the one where I tried to get into GT with 5 crystals. And then I tried again to get in with 6 crystals. And it was, I remember that. Yeah, you were actually doing comms, I think, in that one. And so sometimes that's what happens. And I just have like a meltdown. So like, I would say I just don't deal with tilt very well in general. And like when I do deal with it well, it's like, I think I just like try to convince myself that like, just keep playing and maybe something good will happen. Just, I don't know. It's like, just pretend that nothing bad happened and just keep playing. Like, I don't know.
Are you able to convince yourself that ever?
Yeah, sometimes. Sometimes it's like, sometimes I'm just like, whatever, man, we're just going to shake it off and keep going. Especially if it's a mode like cross keys or something where it's just like anything can happen in that mode, but, other modes, especially if it's like catastrophic error, it can really impact my play.
Sure. Sure. Well, thanks so much for doing this, man. I'm super glad you came on the show. The goal of the show is to kind of like humanize people. And I feel like on the internet, like people can become villains unnecessarily. Like, sure, you can be an asshole for sure, but you're a good guy. You're a good guy. And I feel like, trying to like at least convey that a little bit to people. Maybe this isn't going to change people. I'm sure people might not even listen to this one.
Oh yeah, this will be your least watched for sure.
But Gamachu will definitely listen. So you have any last words for Gamachu?
Go fuck yourself.
Thanks for doing this, man.
Yeah, no, thank you.
Thanks again to GGW for coming on the show and sharing his story, and I hope you got something out of it. I really enjoy talking with GGW. I think he's a good dude. The fact that he's worked so hard to get where he is, really proud of all the work that he's put in, and glad to see him succeed. So big shout outs to GGW for coming on the show. Really appreciate it. Next week, going to have something a little bit different. I watch a lot of Hollywood Reporter roundtable interviews. They usually happen around award seasons. They'll get like the best actor nominees, the best directors. They'll get comedians in a roundtable and just ask them questions about them and the status of their industry. I really enjoy them. So I thought I'd like to do something similar to that. So next week on the show, we're going to have a rando roundtable. Never done that on the show. We'll see how it goes. It'll be ready to go next week. So it's not just a rando roundtable. It is a tournament rando roundtable. So I asked for representatives from the 3 big tournaments that happen yearly. And those big 3 tournaments are the main tournament, the league, and the Cross Keys tournament. They have history, they've lasted, and they're annual, and they're really big. They get the most turnout. So I'm going to be talking to Sabotender and Adirondack Rick from the main tournament. I'm going to be talking to Drossi from the league, and I'm going to be talking to Allison representing the Cross Keys tournament. We'll be talking about the state of the game. We'll be talking about the state of the tournament, how they feel the tournaments are going. Going to ask them some questions about some of the unpopular modes in some of the tournaments. It's going to be a fun roundtable, though. I think we'll have a good time. And so check that out. The rest of the season's filling out really nicely. And I always go back and forth on whether or not to announce it, but I give everyone roles in the Discord, so you can already see. So coming up for the rest of the season, we've got Chex Human. Really excited to talk to him. Darity Peels, that's going to be a really fun one. Lou Maga is going to be on the show, possibly main tournament winner in Jembro coming up, doing really, really well in the main tournament. Going to talk to PH112358, or just PH. Going to be talking to someone I've talked about a lot on the show, and that's Telethar. And then Walther. Walther's the best, and that's going to be coming up here real soon. Big fan of Walther, and we had a really fun conversation. Pretty deep one, too. So be on the lookout for that. So really big season 4. Excited about that roundtable interview coming up next week, and looking forward to all things 216. Thank you all for hanging out. Really, really appreciate it. Join the Discord if you'd like. The link to that is on our website, 216pod.com. You can subscribe to the show anywhere. We're available on pretty much every platform that I can think of. If you could leave a review on Apple Podcasts, that would really help me out as well. Help get the show out there. We hit 10,000 downloads this last week. That's super awesome. I mean, we're just a little show that talks about a pretty small game in the grand scheme of it all. And yet we've got so many cool people that we've talked to and are going to continue to talk to. I got to book them fast. Really appreciate you all hanging out. Come back next week for the roundtable. See you then.